Alrighty, so here's the problem. There's numerous problems here, but the main problem I have is I can't get the seat up. I can't get it up again. The seat needs a little blue pill or something because it won't come up. There's a hinge on the other side, and so it swings up like the other, the original KZ1000, I guess you could call it. Not the Z1R, that has the rear latch, but on a typical or standard KZ1000, they swing up from the left side to the right, and so is the case on this. But no matter what I do, I'm turning this latch. I can't get the thing to come up. So there's a problem in here. I can reach in and get at the U bolt that goes down through, which is the side of the seat that clamps into the latch or goes into the latch. So I'm going to go ahead and just release that. We got to get this up out of the way and figure out what's going on with that. It's always something with these machines that you mess with. I don't think a lot of people understand that. When you start working on something and the hours start to build up, you're like, everything fights you. And in this case, starting us off right off the bat, fighting us with this dang seat. So let me get this apart, get the seat up, and then we'll move on from there. Well, I just was able to reach in, do a classic reach around, and I got the nuts off the top side of this where they go in the bottom of the seat. But yeah, this is just not releasing. I don't know what's going on with it, but you turn it and it just will not release. So you're battling everything on these things. All right, so next step is the next step. I just disconnected the fuel line off the vacuum actuated fuel cock. Now the first thing you want to do when you take one of these off on any machine that's got a vacuum actuated fuel cock is to see if it's bypassing. In other words, is it dripping? Is it coming out in a stream? Because that'll give you an indication of what your problem is. Because if this thing was bypassing, or any of them are bypassing and overflows the carbs into the motor, you got a problem with the motor, you may have an indication of the chain of events, if you will, which helps you with your diagnosis. So I'm looking at this right now and it's not bypassing at all. In fact, I just cracked it over to prime and it starts to flow and then shuts right off. So this actually may not be in that bad a shape, but we'll definitely inspect it. Well, that's not too bad actually. Stock coils, which I would expect because this thing's pretty stock. And the rest of it, as you already know. I am particularly interested in taking a look at that those threads in that spark plug hole, but that's for later on because we want to get the carbs off first. I want to run a compression test as I normally do, and then we'll take it from there. Now, since it's got a stock air box, we have to be careful about getting the carbs out, but sometimes you can loosen the air box up on them and push it back just a smidge, and then be able to kind of wrestle it past these intake boots. So let me do that. I'm going to go ahead and get the carbs off, and then we'll come back at that point because I can't really show you a lot of detail on this anyway. I can't get the camera in on this, so we'll just talk about it afterwards. All right, they're off. Now, you got to wrestle these things a little bit, but, with the box loose, it was a lot easier. And we can see right there, the sun's in a really bad spot here, but number 2 is just soaking wet. The box was full of it, too. I already wiped it out. 1 is not any much better. So while I'm putting the TP for the bung hole in here, I wanted to show you that because this is just all full of fuel. He said number 2 was overflowing, so that makes a lot of sense, obviously. Yeah, so we'll block these guys off and take the carbs over and take a look at them. I have my theory on this one. I'll tell you what that is in a minute. And then when we pull them apart, we'll see if I'm right. Okay, folks, we're over here at Dad's old bench. We're going to take a look at these carbs. First thing jumps out at me is this cover's on in the right location. This one's on in the wrong location. Both of these should be on the ends. I don't know why they swapped them. That's kind of sloppy. This has to go here because it's the restraint or the purchase location for the throttle cable, one of the throttle cables. And so, I don't know what the hell happened here. I mean, the screws look good. In fact, on the bottom float bowl, screws look damn nice, like they've been replaced. So that's good. I mean, I like that part. And looks like I'll have to see the gaskets up close and personal, but they look pretty good actually. So yeah, I don't know. That's sloppy. I'm not really sure why somebody did that. I also don't like the feel of the diaphragms. These do not feel right. This one is sort of right on number 4, but 3, 2, 1. That does not feel right. And the gentleman you saw in the video, the other video, Pete, the owner, he said that the guy who did the carbs replaced all those. Oh, well, there's a problem. Ha! Oh, my. You have got to be kidding me. Oh, my God. All right. You're going to love this one. Now, look down at number 3. And look at the orientation of where the throttle bracket is. That bracket and the cover. It's in the wrong spot. That's supposed to be on the top. So there's no way this thing would run right because it would have a huge vacuum leak at the diaphragm. I mean, look at this. Who does this kind of work? And he paid $900 for somebody to do these carbs and valve clearance check. I'm sorry to say, but they saw him coming. Based upon what I'm seeing on this, and especially with number 3 with that cover put on bad, you know, that is absolutely wrong. These things could be completely screwed up. We're going to go ahead and deal with that. That's right. But what did I say? I'm going to take the bottoms off first because I really want to see what's going on inside the bottoms of these carbs. But on situations like this, you got to start at the very bottom and work your way up because you just don't know what's been done prior by whom has been done by. If that makes any sense. You know, we're going to take these out and look at them. Let's see, this is 4. Yeah, well, I expected this. Yeah, see the shit that's in the bottom of the float bowl? You can get an idea. Yeah, see, there's a bunch of crap in the bottom of that float bowl. Here's a better shot of it here with a light. Now, I'll tell you where that's coming from. The filtering on the fuel cock is probably bad, so I think we're just going to replace that fuel cock in its entirety. I know I'm going back and forth on that, but it's the safest play, so we're going to try to find OEM on it. It's a 2003, so I'm not 100% sure how available it'll be, but we'll figure that out. Because, you know, that's what we do around here. We figure shit out. So, all right. Let me get the rest of these out, and then we'll go back to what I was saying before, because I think I have an idea what's going on with number 2, and maybe the other carbs as well. This is 3. Same deal, crud in the bottom of the float bowl. Gaskets aren't too terribly bad. I have these in stock anyway. I keep these in stock. So I'm not too worried about that. There's number 2 now. And, yep. Ha ha ha. Oh, wait a minute. You know what? I am not right. I'm sort of right. All right, so let's take a look at this a little closer. Let me get you down from where you're at. Now you see 4, 3. This is bottomed out completely. That's no good. But 2 is up in the air. The question is why? Well, here's your answer. The float pin is all bound up for some reason. So that thing was stuck this way. My assumption was that these tangs, these are the tangs here, okay? When these tangs stop the float drop to keep the float from going too far. Let's look at this one. Maybe it'd be a better example for you. When the float drops too far, then these don't even look right. I think they're opening up too much as well. We're going to have to adjust that. But usually those tangs are a little closer to the stand-up, but we can bend those down. I think that needs to be done because these are dropping way too far. What can happen is when it drops down that far, the float valve can get cattywampus and jam it up in the same fashion that you saw it when I first touched it. It was up in the air like that and jammed up. That was my initial theory. But what we have is a problem for some reason with these being bound. So either they weren't cleaned properly or the float pin is bent. That's possible. I keep those in stock as well. And so, you know, we'll be able to solve this, no question. But the problem is we're going to need to clean these carbs out somewhat as well. Now, it's not going to be really terrible. I prefer to do a complete breakdown and, you know, bring them to bits, but it's not necessary in this particular application or this job. And number 1 is the same way, which gives you an idea why 1 and 2 are so full of fuel. This one is really tight. Super tight. Look at that. Won't even go down. So whoever did these carbs did not do them. I think he charged them for it and didn't do them. Because there's no way that that would be the case, froze up like that. But this thing has not been sitting significant amount. It would have to sit years to do something like this. This thing's had fuel run through it. So yeah, whoever did the carbs didn't do them. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Now, unfortunately, it's got these damn things, which are these plugs, and these are almost impossible to get. Well, they were on some of them. I don't know about these. Well, I'm going to have to get that one off camera. We got to get these plugs out of here. There's a rubber O-ring on them, on the brass plug, and the slow jet is behind there. And the slow jet gets fed from the main jet. There's a little crossover hole between the main and the slow jet. So let me get this out. Yeah, let me get these off and get the jets taken out, and then we'll pull the floats and see what's going on with these float pins here, and then take it from there. But I'm going to have to work on this off camera. It's going to be kind of fiddly. So we'll pull the slow jets out here in a second. I turn the camera back on mainly to show you how I take these float pins out. It's really easy to screw up one of these standoffs and essentially break it. All right, and so what we're going to do with these is we're going to get you in shot here first, and I'll show you what I do. You get behind the head of this nail essentially, and you push away against the standoff like that. Because if you use a drift from the other side, you risk snapping a standoff off. Standoff off? Is that a word? So that's what I do with them. I pull them out that way. Then you can get them out the rest of the way. But these look pretty tight for some reason. I'm wondering if it's bent somehow. I don't know how it could be bent. It's probably just stuck. Which I don't understand why. I don't get it. Probably from doing that. Yeah. Now it may seem like the nail is trashed, but it's not. We can. Oh yeah, it is bent. See? See this? It's bent. See it? So there's your problem, lady. I have never seen that before. That was a guess. This was a guess on my part. I would have never thought that that's bent. Wow. Holy shnikes. We don't need to worry about what carb those go back into. While I'm doing, there's a lot of things I cover on these carbs, but I'm just going to cover the highlights because I got a bunch of carb videos. But the other thing I want to cover is these float seats are removable, and so they have an O-ring in them, and they are notorious for failing. Let me get my JIF screwdriver. And the problem with these failing, of course, is this is what controls your fuel flow. They actually may be new because they look pretty good. Maybe he replaced them. And as such, if the O-ring's bad, then what happens is it bypasses. It'll bypass it. No, those feel pretty good actually. They may be brand new. We'll take them out anyway to clean them, but I'll just use an 8mm pin removable tool to pull those out. You don't want to use a pair of pliers on these things like that. You'll screw them up. That's what I'll do on these when I get them all apart. All right, let me get the rest of it apart, and I just wanted to show you a couple of highlights there. Here's one of the float seats. These have definitely not been replaced. The O-rings are too smushed, and look at all the crud that's in there on that pre-filter, or that post-filter, I should say. Filter screen. Yeah, we're going to shotgun all that. We're going to put new float valves. I mean, look inside here. We're going to put new float valves. It's pretty gooey. You got to take my word for it. It's kind of hard to see on camera. If I can get you a better shot. There's a bunch of junk in there. I don't know how long ago he did these, though. So I'd like to give the guy the benefit of the doubt. I never asked that. I should have asked him when these were done. I mean, if they were done like 5 years ago or something, then I might say, oh, well, it kind of makes sense. But I didn't get that impression. Sorry, I don't do impressions. Now, what I'm going to do after this is I'm going to get this all out. I'm going to put the float bowls back on just with 2 screws in each. And we're going to flip these things over and put them in the rack because I have a rack to hold this, or a little apparatus to hold it. And then we're going to pop off the diaphragm covers and take a look in there. This stand that I made out of an old drill press vise works particularly well for these kind of carbs because it has that bracket across the back. That's part of the racking mechanism, the racking system. So that's essentially what it was designed for. Let's see, we're in the right orientation here. Let's just start at 1, move our way across. In case you're wondering, I put the float bowls back on because I just want to remove any chances of smacking those standoffs against anything. It just protects them. Here's number 1. Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, okay. Well, I figured this would be the problem. I need to take you down and show you this. This diaphragm, you see that little raised round edge right there? It's supposed to be in that recessed round edge there, that radius there. It's supposed to be like this. See how that sits in there now like that? So that's why this thing wasn't sealing, because it was essentially resting on that protrusion. It would be a protrusion over here, and that's why it wasn't sealing. The other thing this does is it clocks the cutaway on the back of the carb. If there is a particular cutaway. In this case there's no cutaway, but there's a hole. Now, the hole's got to go forward on these. And that's part of the dynamics of the whole thing, how it works. But you see, that is, again, it serves two purposes. Well, really it only serves one. It clocks the carbs, or the diaphragms rather. It clocks these diaphragms. There's a better view of it right here. It's got to go into this little recess right there. Can't get it to stay in, unfortunately, and you can see that was way over there. So it was almost 180 degrees off. And I kind of suspect it was going to be a problem that these were not clocked properly, but what that does again also is it does not provide a seal because it's raising that up. These have to be perfectly sealed into this groove right there with the cover on it to operate properly. So there's another problem. All right, so let me get the rest of them off. We'll take a look at them. Okay, we already discussed one. Number 2, the little round area, that protrusion, that radius, is over here. So it needs to be over there. Number 3 has other problems, as you could see, with that bracket underneath there, but that little protrusion is right there. There's a really good shot of it right there if I can zoom up on it somewhat. You can kind of see that round edge. Okay, that should be like that. And this one is way over here. It's basically almost exactly 180 degrees out. This one should be over there. That puts that hole in the right spot on the intake side of the carbs, which is critical for the operations of the diaphragms. So whoever did these carbs absolutely did not know what they were doing with these carbs. And we'll have to check and see if the needles may have been replaced as well. Let's go ahead and take a look at one here while we're on camera. No, they look stock because they're non-adjustable. I'll write the needle number down. Excuse me, and we'll look into the service data and see what it shows for these carbs. But it may have been bought as a package too. You said package. I just don't remember if there's supposed to be a spring. I don't think so now that I think about it, because there's no little recess to capture it. Usually it's captured on this plastic disc side. So I'd say that's probably right. But all right, what I'm going to do now is turn you off and get all this stuff separated and better organized. And then I'm going to clean these, but not on camera, of course. But I'm not even going to do that right now because we're going to turn our attention to some other stuff on the engine. Changing plans. We're not going to be doing no compression tests. I pulled number 1 plug out, no problem with the threads. Pulled number 2. There is no way they repaired that with a thread insert. The threads look horrible. I just put the plug right back in, and it was very fiddly doing that, but I know I got it in nice and straight because I was able to put it in by hand all the way up to the bottom. So that was not repaired with anything. They may have chased it with something, but they certainly didn't repair it. Now I can get a pretty good torque on it. Normally, I put on what I normally do, So we're going to have to leave that. I mean, the proper way to fix this is to pull the cylinder head and, with a nice flat surface here to put down the machine, We'll have to figure out the angle and then get this thing fixtured at a certain angle where we can pick up that hole squarely and then drill and tap that for a time cert for the, what is it, M14, and red Loctite that in, and it'll be just good as new. So it is what it is for now. Alright, I know what you're going to say, and before you get y'all's panties in a wad in regards to the spark plug hole deal on number 2, I want to clarify what I mean by the best way, okay? In my opinion, the best way and the most accurate way would be with the head off the bike on a machine tool to pick up the surface, so you're parallel or perpendicular rather with the tool, and then pick up the center of the hole, drill it, tap it, put the insert in, and then reinstall the head. That would be the most accurate way. And it'll also be the cleanest way. There's absolutely no chance of chips getting into a cylinder if it's not on the engine, okay? That's what I meant by that. Now, when I film these things, sometimes I have information that's incomplete. So since I did that clip, which is why I'm inserting this right here, is to talk to the customer. We're going to go ahead and do a thread hole repair on the spark plug in situ, okay? I went ahead and ordered the actual Time Cert brand kit. I think they're the best. The auto parts store ones I'm not going to trust on something like this. I might use it on a lawnmower or something, but not on this. So I'm waiting for that to come. It's very expensive, but I think if I used it 2 times, I'd be able to recoup the cost of that thing. So this will obviously be one. So again, I want to clarify that. There are other ways to do it. I think the best way to do it is with the head off, again, for accuracy, using a machine tool. But there's also another best way, and that would be in this case, we don't have to pull the head. It would be an unnecessary expense. We can definitely fix it when it's on the bike, so we're going to go ahead and do that. I will not be filming that because it's too difficult, but I will show you the end result. So I just wanted to clarify that what I just said in this clip. But the whole point is I can't get my compression tester on that one because the threads are very poor at the very top in particular, and that compression tester is not very long when it comes to the thread engagement, so I'm afraid it's going to blow it out and damage the threads even more. I know I need to pull the head cover off. I've already gotten my parts order essentially laid out, but I want to look at this clutch situation before I do that, because if it does need a clutch cable, then you know, we're going to order that on this order rather than do a separate one and pay shipping for 2 orders. Yeah. All right. Now I did crank it over with my bra stuffing out of the bung holes here. TP from my bung hole, and then it cranks good. It doesn't crank with any gallop or anything. It's very even. So I imagine the compression is good in each cylinder, like he said it was. But there ain't no way I'm going to put a compression tester on that. No way, though. And testing 3 out of the 4 doesn't tell me anything. So, all right, that's where we're at. Okay, as far as the clutch cable goes, I was right and I'm wrong. I was right that it's fragmenting, but it's actually up here. You can see that cable inside there. Let me zoom up for you. I couldn't see it before without being able to pull it. See that cable is starting to break right up in there? That's what it looks like, at least to me from here, so I'm going to take it out, but it sure looks like it's starting to snap up there. Could be even further down in here where it's starting to splinter and it's allowing it to stretch out. The other problem is he has a tremendous amount of play in the arm, the actuator arm here. I don't think that's supposed to be there. I've never seen that before. So this is all wallered out. So, you know, we might be able to fix this in-house, but, you know, the bottom line is we can also just find another part used, even if it's in better shape, for this clutch actuator when this cams around, pushes on them ball bearings when it cams out of the little holes inside there. But I don't believe that's supposed to be like that. I've never seen one like that before, so that's another problem with getting the initial adjustment when this is so sloppy. But I'm almost certain that this would be the reason why he's having trouble with it dynamically. So when he's using it and he has to keep adjusting it, this is most likely the reason right here. Okay, so there's that. I went ahead and also took care of some wiring issues down here by the stator and up here by the electrical connectors. This connector is actually supposed to be in here mounted like these, but it's not because it was melted. Somebody's already been in here, and I'm not going to worry about sneaking that behind there because I had to change this connector out. More on this in a second. What we had to do down here is on the stator side, he had 3 individual like bayonet style push plugs going into the original female connectors on the bike side. The wires were completely melted. I mean, they were really bad, and these weren't any much better. So I think he said something about he replaced the stator in here for some reason, which, by the way, I tested. It does test good on all three legs at 4 ohms. I'm sorry, 0.4 ohms. What am I saying? It tests at 0.4 ohms on each leg and no connections to ground. So I'm happy with that. And I replaced this plug on this side and on the stator side. I had to run some non-yellow wire, unfortunately, up to about here. The wire was essentially almost melted all the way up to here. It was melted down here and very stiff up here, and the insulation was discolored. So the nice thing about this snakeskin type wire covering is you can kind of shove it back and then put a wire tie on so it doesn't come back on you, and then work on your wires and then let it go, and it comes right back over so it looks OEM. And as far as the wire colors go, it's no big deal, because if you can't figure out these are the 3 stator legs, then stay away from bikes, right? So up here, we'll revisit this here, and I had the same problem with the red plug being melted, and so I really tried to repin that red plug by taking the pins out, but the 3 stator ones on the bottom were so melted in that the plug got destroyed essentially on the inside of it, so I had to discard it. This isn't exactly the right plug, but it will work. And unfortunately, these red ones are kind of hard to find. I need to really look a little bit more closely and try to find some of those. This is normally supposed to be mounted like these are from the back side, and you push them on. But it's not. I'm not going to worry about that at this point. It's not going to cause any problems. So we'll just tuck that in here real nice, wire tie it up later, and then it'll be fine. So we did definitely take care of some wiring. There's more to do though, and we'll get to that at a later time. All right, folks, we're done on this video, the second video now on the KZP, and there'll be definitely a few more on this one as time goes on. I'm in editing right now. I want to get this up on the channel here by the weekend. Realized I didn't have an outro, so that's what I'm going to do right now. Yeah. So anyway, I'm looking forward to doing more work on this bike and seeing how that thread repair kit works from Time Cert. I got a shipping notice on it. We'll see how that works. By the way, that particular tap, I didn't mention this before, that tap has got 2 stages. It's got the 14 mil at the end that captures the tap to keep it straight on the hole, and then a larger section of the tap that actually cuts the insert threads. I didn't mention that before. That's how a tap like this, when you're doing it in situ, works on a kit like that. It keeps it straight, makes sure the threads are straight, and I know there's enough threads left in that hole to do that. So that's how that one works. I apologize, I didn't clarify that before. So anyway, I'm going to close this one out. Like I said, if you like this kind of stuff, you want to see more on this, see more on the Z1R, other projects I got coming and going, you know what you need to do. You need to stick around, like, comment, subscribe, share, do the whole thing. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on next video.